All right. Patrick's here. He's back. That's right. I'm back. Back with the second half of our doubleheader, Eight Questions With. Some of you have already come in and watched our interview with the lovely Max Wassa. And I know some of you will be coming in to watch our interview with Tristan Risk. And yeah, thank you for coming in. I know some people will be coming in a little bit later. I know because it's 9 o'clock. Normally, I always start at 8, but because of the way the doubleheader worked out, I had to start an hour later. So that does happen. Um, all I got to say, it's been busy tonight in the community. I just was over at the House of Horrors, and they were interviewing Lou Taylor Pucci. I hope I pronounced his last name right. And they were interviewing him. He seemed like a fantastic guest. I'll definitely be watching the replay of that as well. House of Horror is still tearing things up. Um, and we're tearing things up too, as we are getting ready to welcome in the lovely Tristan Risk. Tristan Risk is wow, what isn't she? She is an actress, she is a dancer, a writer, a puppeteer. She is learning how to sword swallow. She is learning how to do that. She is a traveler. She was born in Canada. She lived here in the United States, and currently, as we speak, she's in New Zealand. So she has gone just about everywhere, from the top of the world to the bottom of the world, and everywhere in between. Some of you guys remember her from the cult movie American Mary, which starred Catherine Isabel and was directed by the Saska twins. She is also still currently making films, both starring in and creating her own. She is she has completed two new movies coming out. One's called Xanadu Hellfire, that is completed, where she plays a mermaid, and then there is a movie called Boogeyman Reincarnation, which is completed, and she plays Taylor. And she has another movie in post production called Lilith. And how short, small of a world is this? Tristan Risk is a co-starring in that movie with none other than Max Wass's daughter, Danny. Danny and her are playing in a movie together. So that's a small ass world, right? Um, and she's also appeared in the new version of a Rabbit that she did with the Saska twins, and she's also starred in movies such as Shevenge, and Alien Stole My Body and Cuties. So she's had a lot of fun in both movies, and she also is a dancer. She did burlesque dancing for 12 years, and she did that, and that's a fine art. Burlesque is very, very cool. It's all about illusion and mystery. And I've seen some burlesque dancers. I've actually known a couple in my life and watched them work, and it's tremendously fun. Uh, a lot of fun. You got to be able to sing too. It always helps if you can sing. She's also getting ready to do her own movies, including did I mention this, that she's going to be doing a movie called Cat Lover, because I do know that's what she's going to do. That she's ready to do that. She's going to be prepping for that. I'm going to be asking her a lot of questions about that because we like cats here at Eight Questions With. Our mascot's a cheetah, so of course we're going to ask her about that. Um, and of course the puppeteering is really cool too. As you saw the picture I had on before the show to advertise the show, she has that's a puppet I do believe she built, and so she's just got so much going on, and this is a grail guest for me. I actually yes, somebody said cat lover. That's right. That's right. She's going to be making a movie called Cat Lover. I think it's going to be about me. That's just what I'm just saying. Me and the cheetah. But what do I know, right? That could be anybody. Look at that. You got a cat too. That could be about your cat. It could be. I don't know if I don't know if it's a documentary. I don't know if it's a documentary. It could be a documentary. We'll have to ask Tristan that as well. And later on, earlier today, I did a new thing I was thinking about doing. I was thinking about putting together doing it like a 30-minute show on Mondays, basically highlighting what's coming up on 8 Questions With for the rest of the week. I think I'm going to start the formal one next Monday, but I did one today just to see what kind of response I would get. I was very pleased with the response. So what I'm going to do is, starting Monday, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to do a little show, not very long, just enough to get, let you guys know what's going on, and with the channel. Hey, Drew, what's up, sir? We are going to be welcoming in Tristan Risk here in about 15 minutes or so. And she is all the way from New Zealand. So it is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun tonight. And I'm glad you guys are here, because Tristan Risk is someone you want to watch. Hey, Katie, how are you? Are you hosting the Midnight Hour tonight, or is it going to be Hobbs? So I could tell people where to go after the show. I do know the Midnight Hour is up tonight. I think they're starting about 10:15, 10:30. I think that's what I heard. I could be wrong. I'm not sure who's hosting it. I do know that it will be on later on. Hobbs is doing it. Hobbs is hosting, so we're probably looking at a 10:15 start for House of Horrors. That will be on after our interview with Tristan Risk. So that'll be fun. So I'll let you guys know. Some of you already know. If you're new to the channel, you get to hear this a lot. Let's see. Question for everybody: let's see. Which jousting lawn performance do you like more? I don't know what that is. Jousting lawn. Oh, Justin Long. Justin Long. My favorite one of Justin Long, honestly, is Jeepers Creepers. That would be my favorite. Though I do love Drag Me to Hell. That has one of my favorite happy endings of any movie. I love that. That's a happy ending for me. Yeah, I would definitely Justin Long would definitely be my Drag Me to Hell. But I mean, as far as between those two movies, but the one I liked the best would have been Jeepers Creepers, for sure. That's a sensational movie. Good question. I know that sometimes he's hit and miss, though. Sometimes he's really, really good, and sometimes sometimes he nails it in a little bit. Yes, he certainly has. He's a very good actor when he's motivated. He has to be motivated. If he's motivated, he's really good. I definitely agree with that. So some of the stuff that we got coming up next week. That's right. There's Steven. He broke his Hannah curse today. Give it up for Steven from the House of Horrors. Broke his Hannah curse. Congratulations, Steven. In about a few minutes, I'll be breaking my Hannah curse, and I'm super happy about that. I have to see Barbarian. I've heard Barbarian is really good. I have not heard anybody say a bad word about Barbarian, and it actually outperformed Pearl at the box office. Did twice its business, and Pearl got all the publicity, but Barbarian got all the money. I do know that Justin Long played against Type and Barbarian, which I would really like to see, because he always plays the nice guy, the good guy and everything else. I really like to see him play a bad guy, and or not a nice guy. And so that'll be an interesting movie to see. But no, Barbarian has I've heard nothing but good things about Barbarian. I have not seen any of the Chipmunk movies. I know, shocker, right? Um, oh, wow, man! Our guest Max Wassa is still entertaining us. She is helping me out with some questions here. I'm going to be asking. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we come. All right, here we go. All the way from New Zealand, please welcome Miss Tristan Risk. Well, didn't work. There she is.
Yay, my ring light works. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! Awesome. Woot!
All right. All right, Stephen. My curse is broken. All right. Uh, how are you doing today? Oh, got a little. Okay. Are you on a monitor?
No, I'm on my phone.
Okay. Okay. We'll work around that.
Okay.
Because I hear me.
Can you hear me?
I hear you perfectly.
Is this better?
Let's see. Testing 1, 2. That's good. That's good.
Cool. All right, cool. I just turned my my speaker down, so that should probably do it. But I'm not an expert in these things. I'm just a stripping raccoon.
Yeah, I look out. Wow, you look great today.
Thanks.
Where's the dragon?
The dragon is in Vancouver, Canada right now. He is busy carnying it up. He worked the PNE Playland this past summer, and he is doing the sideshow freak show for Fright Nights at Playland, which is Vancouver's amusement park. And it's kind of a big deal because, well, who doesn't want to be the featured freak at Halloween? Like, it's kind of one of like the reasons we do sideshow is because that's the best job.
Now, are you currently in New Zealand right now?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I am currently here in my shire. So where I live is in the north part of the South Island, in what's called like the Tasman area, and I live in a like teeny tiny little agricultural town called Motueka, which is about like 40 minutes from Nelson, which is like the next biggest city.
Now, what I guess the first question I would ask is, what led you to New Zealand?
There's a couple of factors at play here. So my mom married a Kiwi when I was 9, and they lived all over the world. Like they lived in Vancouver, and then they moved to West Africa, and then they were in Thailand and Fiji and Malaysia and Australia. But they bought like a lifestyle plot here in New Zealand because they knew they wanted to settle down here. And the thing is, as you get older, 20 acres is a lot of property to take care of, and they needed some help. And my partner, the dragon, he's got dual citizenship between New Zealand and Canada. So we were like, you know what, Vancouver, we're never going to own a house here, and it's expensive, and it's not like, I'll be honest, it's not getting better. So like the city in general, it's not the city that either of us grew up in. Like everything's like way more expensive, and it's like, so let me get this straight. We can like grow our own food. I can have all the animals except snakes. And I can own my own home. Sorry, Vancouver. I can come visit you guys. I'm moving to the Shire. So that was kind of what the motivating factor was for us. And plus, I grow a lot of food, and you can't do that when you're living in Vancouver for a few reasons. But it was the right choice. I mean, maybe not during a global pandemic, but like I'm not gonna let a whole bunch of people who are super sick stop me from doing shit.
No, New Zealand actually did really well during the pandemic. It really fought it off pretty well.
You know what's really funny about that was I came in June 2021. Like that's when I got here. I had to spend 2 weeks in MIQ isolation, and I was just like, whatever. I'll jump through whatever hoops. Like I want to be here. And I got out, and I took off my little mask, and I'm like, oh, I can walk around freely, and there's like no mask restrictions. 2 weeks later, yeah, we're enacting mask restrictions, this, that, and I was just like, shit.
Yeah, I think
So
they
it
had it
is
down.
what it is, but yes.
I think New Zealand. I have a friend who lives there, and she told me that at one point, New Zealand had only had like one case. I mean, they had done such a great job of securing it, and then they sort of relaxed it, and next thing you know, then they got a few more cases. But of all the countries in the world, I think New Zealand was probably affected the least.
I think that's true. I think that the government did the very best that they could. I'm sure that there's things that they could have done different, but it was like everybody was kind of like, what do we do? How do we deal with this? And that was just, I think that was probably the best response that they could have done given the circumstances and given that it is so far and isolated and they're kind of like used to being pretty self insular. It gave them a chance to react differently than a lot of other places where there was like more people coming and going all the time and like cross border and flying in, flying out, and like, it. And I mean, where we are in the South Island, this is fairly rural, so like, it's, I there's days where I don't like leave the property, and I'm just like, oh, it's been like, oh shit, like 5 days since I've like left the homestead, and sadly, I don't care. It's just like,
No,
oh,
I think it's great. I mean, and you still are able to do whatever you need to do. Whether it be doing a acting or do directing or a convention or what have you. You can just jump on the plane, fly, do what you need to do, and come back.
that's the plan. Is both Burns and I are going to be at the Nelson Buskers Festival and the Auckland Buskers Festival, and then we are going to be back in Vancouver, Canada next summer because I'm going to be doing the Peony. I'll also be performing at Fright Night. And that's when I'm going to be hopefully shooting at least one, possibly two short films that I'm going to be directing that I wrote. And yeah, hopefully some other things that we've got bitching in the kitchen. So I'm super stoked to be able to like have that freedom. I realize that it's incredibly privileged. I realize that not everybody can do this, but I can, so fuck all y'all.
Yeah. No, you worked hard to get where you're at. One question about one of those movies. Is Cat Lover a documentary?
No, it is definitely not a documentary in any way. I hope it's not a documentary because it's going to upset some people, probably.
Because I told a lot of people about Cat Lover, and like, this is exciting. I'm wondering if she's taking submissions or auditions for cats because I have one, and but I guess
Yes,
not. I guess that would be a no if it's not a documentary.
it's not a documentary, and as big as your kitty is, I actually need a bigger cat.
Bigger than a cheetah?
Do you have
Wow.
a tiger?
Huh?
And
Oh,
do you
you.
have a tiger?
Oh, damn. Oh,
Yeah,
no, no, just a cheetah. I'm very excited to hear that, though. You sounded when we talked. Even through our communication, I could actually sense a tremendous amount of excitement from you about the two new movies you're going to be doing.
I
But
haven't
this,
done anything since 2019 in terms of directing, and I mean that was like part and parcel. I was like focusing on moving, and there was a pandemic, and yada yada. So being able to like get back into it is hella exciting.
now, because New Zealand is so far away from everybody else, will you be splitting your time for, like you mentioned about next summer? Will you be doing that on the regular? Will you be like spending like it's about ready to get summer in New Zealand, but will you spend
Yeah,
your summers in New Zealand and your winters in Canada?
I know that Burns is really interested in chasing summer for the rest of his life. I probably will spend a little bit more time here, just because of like there's like a kind of like a growing season that I'm like, making sure that everything is set up for. But yeah, the plan is to be fairly nomadic. Like this will be our base of operations out of New Zealand. And he's able, because of New Zealand and Australia, he's able to work in Australia. I'm definitely going to go to Australia because there's like all the dangerous things that I want to interact with over there, people included, mostly animals, but yes, also some people who are dangerous and wonderful that I want to interact with. But yeah, I think that like we were pretty, I'm not going to say nomadic because we did have a house, but like we traveled lots for what we do prior to the pandemic, and the Rona kind of put a damper on that. And I am really glad that we are coming out of that era.
Yes. Australia is only 3 hours away from you. I thought, it's just like taking a trip from Vancouver, maybe down to, Minnesota or Detroit. It's not that far away. I mean, it's,
I mean, I won't
it's
say
down.
it's not far. I will say that it's closer than most things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think it's closer to New Zealand, Australia. I think it's closer than flying across Canada from like Vancouver to Montreal. It's about half that distance, I think.
Yeah, it's actually cheaper to fly from where I am in the South Island to Melbourne than from where I am up to Auckland, which is like in the North Island. So it's just like, yep,
Mhm.
kind of like, why does it cost so much to fly from Vancouver to Winnipeg? It's like, well, because you're going to Winnipeg. Who wants to go to Winnipeg?
Ooh, yikes! Zoinks! Canada's blowing up. It looks like I still got some chat activity here. Let me go over there and check that out. Our friend Gizmo's come back. Well, he is staying up late tonight. I appreciate it. Let's see. Oh yeah, yes. Our previous guest was Max Wassa, and you and her did one movie called House of Manson
Yes,
together with Brendan Slagle. I'm just showing off how small the world is. And
I love it.
you also completed a movie called Lilith, where you played Lilith 3, and Max's daughter played Lilith 2.
Oh, that movie. Yep.
Yep, and Max said to say hello, and she loves your work.
Aw, that's
Hmm.
awesome.
So I definitely
I'm
passed that
flattered.
along. Yes, everybody got really excited when I got this interview. People, especially one guy down here in the chat, my good friend Steven, they got really excited because I told him you and I used to talk a lot on Twitter when I was on Twitter. I know you don't forget, I don't remember that because it's years ago, but we did talk quite a bit on Twitter. That's how I got to know you, and then Twitter got toxic, and I left. So reconnecting with you on Instagram was really, really fun, and I'm really glad that you're here to do this with us.
Thank you for
Um,
inviting me.
oh yes, of course. I mean, yes, I was very excited. Let's see, our friend Gizmo, who is a film director in his own right. Let's see, let's see, where'd he
I
go?
love the name Gizmo, by the way. It's like Mogwai love.
Uh, oh, he's commenting on the Oh, Max had a really cool nail polish on the last show, and now the hot lipstick.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my nails. I've got like farmer hands, so I don't have like nice nails. But the face, I can do the face.
That's right. That's right. Now he mentioned right here he saw Rabbit and the ABCs of Death that you did with it. Um, so let's talk a little bit about well, obviously you were born in Canada, right? Because you are a Canadian.
I am.
Okay. I know you lived in the United States for a little while as well, right?
Nope, I've never lived in the U.S.
Oh, really? So you're always
Nope.
Canadian? Wow. Well, that's a good thing. So you're just Canadian based. Okay. So where were you born and raised at in Canada?
Born and raised in Vancouver.
Oh, okay. So Vancouver is your hometown then.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Technically, I grew up in a suburb outside of it, which was like a seaside swamp named Tsawwassen, and that is just the where you take the ferry to go over to Vancouver Island. So It's about like 40 minutes drive from Vancouver proper, but as soon as I like hit my adulthood, I sold my condo and I moved to Vancouver. I was just like, I do not want a car anymore. I do not want to be away from public transit. I want to be in the heart of everything. And that was my 20s. And now here I am in my 40s going, I want to be away from public transit. I don't want anyone to be able to get close to here. I want like a kilometer between my house and like where the road is. And it's awesome.
Yeah, Duzio is perfect for that.
Yeah.
Do you get the itch though to perform though? I mean,
Oh,
do you like
absolutely.
it?
Yeah. Like
Mm.
that hasn't gone away at all. It's still there. I just, I everything kind of shifted a little bit during COVID and during the move. So that gave me a chance to like focus on some other art stuff. But like the desire to perform is still very much like active. And, I'm booked for a couple of things in Vancouver next year. The live stuff will be at, there's a film festival in Vancouver, which they're having in October called the Vancouver Badass Film Festival, which Burns and the other Caravan of Curiosities members will be performing at. But hopefully, I'll be able to share that stage next year. I'll be at Fright Night. So, and once Burns comes home, like the performing thing is going to get like right back in there. The mermaiding, the statuing, the fun, dangerous things to do to myself. Excited to get back to it.
Yeah, I was speaking of that dangerous thing. You are learning to sword swallow, which
I
I thought
am.
was fascinating. Unfortunately, we can't do that tonight, kids. Um,
No,
uh, but don't worry, I did ask. I am a good interviewer. I did ask. Uh,
he did. It's true. I can't do it to completion in a way that satisfies me. And there's also a safety issue that I don't have anybody physically here with me. So that's the thing
no,
with learning is if something goes wrong, I need someone to help me. And
oh,
Burns isn't here. So I have to be like circumspect with my practice. And then also I can get it in, but getting it out, I always barf a little bit. And that's just, like a reflux thing.
right.
And I just like to get that to the point where I'm not yakking up my breakfast before I do the act. Because some people are like, oh wow, I was fine with the sword going in, but the vomit is not okay.
Yeah, yeah. When you explain that, and I'm 100%. I'm like, yes, I totally understand that, and I wouldn't, that's why I said, is it only if it's safe and you feel comfortable. It wasn't, I that those are two rules right there. And I no, I'm not going to ever ask anybody to do anything that crazy or dangerous unless they're totally, safe in doing it. Um,
Yeah, people
so
are
your
like, what's the
Vancouver,
trick? I'm like, it's not a trick. It's like you're putting like a microscope down your throat to get like a stomach inspection. Like it's not like some people have a thing and it looks like a measuring tape that extends out and they pretend to swallow it and it's very frowned upon about swords. Well, it's fine if you show that it's fake, but trying to pass that off as like actual authentic is not cool.
no, I've only seen sword swallowers twice. I saw them twice at the Jim Rose Sideshow Circus.
Excellent.
That is a freaky ass show. That will put your
He is continues to be an inspiration for me as Jim Rose.
yes, he is. You just walk there, shake his hand, and go like, man, how do you do what you do? And this answer was very carefully. Hi, Kevin.
He's
How are
not
you?
wrong.
So we see some good folks coming in here. Yeah, some see Kaylee says, I avoid danger like the plague. She chases it. Yeah, that's but not no, you wouldn't call yourself. Would you? I mean, can you see yourself climbing a mountain? I was actually gonna that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you. I mean, you've done so much. You've done so much in your life as far as this fun activities. And would you consider mountain climbing?
I'm not opposed to it. There's actually some really good walks here in Vancouver in New Zealand that are you pack up and you go camping kind of thing, sort of like the Appalachian Trail or the West Coast Trail in North America. And I'm interested in doing those. Mountain climbing, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I just, I see the trail of corpses going up Everest, and I see the lines to get there, and I'm like, there's two things I don't like: chasing corpses and
Yeah,
lineups.
yeah, yeah. It's funny how everybody rushes to Everest, but man, it's just I don't know. Everest. I mean, New Zealand sounds sounds like a lot of fun, but Everest doesn't sound quite that much fun because everybody's doing it. Uh,
Yeah. It's certainly not like not kind of the status that I guess saying I climbed Everest, but it's also I'm not gonna like have oxygen deprivation to my brain either. So
uh, in Vancouver. So, where did you get your start? What was the first thing you did creative wise? I'm taking it. I bet you were. I bet you wrote first before you did anything else.
well, we're taking it back to the old school. So when I was about 9 or 10, I discovered oven hardening polymer clay, and I started making these like little dragons out of them. And there was a lady that ran this coffee shop that my parents always went to, and I went to because I was a kid. And she was like, "Oh, if you want to like put them here for sale, like I'll sell them for you." And I made my pocket money selling little Fimo dragons. And I've always been like the weird artsy kid. Like I draw, I paint, I sculpt. I started writing when I was like in grade 4, I think. And being like the weird, like artsy kid, of course, I basically just like wore a target on my back my whole life. Because I don't like sports, I don't like people generally. So it was like, like if you want to pick on someone, pick on this bitch. And so I got in a lot of fights in grade 8 in my high school. And they, instead of like, actually like dealing with the bullies and being like, fuck these guys, they decided that the best thing to do was to ship me out. And there was a school out in Fort Langley, which is about an hour away from where I live, that was an art school. It's called Langley Fine Arts. And so I got accepted to go there, and I got to do my art like every day. I mean, yeah, you got your academics and stuff too, but like the focus is on art and what have you. And then as soon as I left high school, I eventually got into doing burlesque dancing, first as a joke and then for real. Like that, it was like, oh, I can actually make money doing this and people like it. Cool. And that was in like 2002, 2003. And then I started touring as a burlesque dancer, and that's just kind of how it started. That it's just like I've always been like the weird artsy one, and it's like, what's what's no one else doing? Oh, fucking Tristan's doing it because no one else is doing it. All right, that's cool. Oh, everyone else is doing it, and she's just
What? When you
it's like
started doing
Vancouver
the
now when I started. Back when
when
I
you
started
started,
burlesque. You could there was no like there was like 5 burlesque dancers plus me, and now you can't throw pasty without hitting like 20 dancers because there's like 3 burlesque schools and this, that, and the next thing, and it's just like every show you go to there, and we have burlesque. I'm like, oh, thank God! I was worried we were running out, you know.
right, right. Burlesque is it's a fine art.
It's I'll say this: there's a lot of people who do burlesque who are very talented. I don't necessarily equate the what it takes to be a good or talented burlesque dancer to something like, say, circus arts or sideshow, where like you basically have to practice for like 2 years before you can do it on stage. And like, because burlesque is mostly about like props, costumes, and taking it off, where it's like, yeah, I learned to juggle like 5 balls and it took me a million years, and I'm like, it's different. And I didn't quite appreciate that till I started doing more of that, and I was just like, oh my God, I've like been doing this for like a year and a half and I still can't do it on stage yet, where it's just like they're like, I took off a glove, validate me. A little bit different. But I did it for 20 years, and it's good, but it's just kind of like I'm over it. But that's not to say that there's people who aren't discovering it who are. So I try to kind of like keep my own thoughts and feelings about it sort of like not yuck someone else's yum. But sometimes I'm like, yeah, you're not getting paid as much as me because you didn't like train to the degree I did to walk across those wine bottles on point. So your outfit's great, but like, what else you got?
Wow. You walked on wine bottles?
Yep.
Yeah,
I
that's
started with milk bottles because they had like more surface area. But then I've just recently transferred to wine bottles. So if I can't use the wine bottles in my glass walking kit, I can always walk on them when they're still together.
now. Are you talking about wine bottles? Like, are they still whole, or
Yep, they're
have
just empty.
and do you flip them upside down and walk on the bottoms of them, or are you?
No, they're right side up, and it's the top of the wine bottles on point because I used to do ballet. So that's my flex.
That's insane. You got a video of that? I want.
There's video and photos on my Instagram of that, and on the Caravan of Curiosities Instagram too.
Wow, that is absolutely insane, Tristan. That is crazy. Wow,
Balance. It's
that
all
is.
about
I
balance.
thought
Trust me.
burlesque was just. The old burlesque that I saw was like the costumes and the mystery and will she or won't she, and then and if you could sing as well, and that what you're doing, that sounds sort of like, that's sort of Jim Rose sort of stuff. Have you ever had a bottle break on you?
No, no. Thankfully, touch wood, that's not happened yet or ever.
Yeah,
I've
or
knocked loose a
ever.
lot of bottles, but nothing's ever been broken.
Wow, that's and you wow, that's crazy. And you did that for 20 years.
Oh,
Um
I haven't done the bottle walking for 20 years. That's just like in the last like 4.
that's incredible. That blows my mind. I just trying to now what I really want to do. Yes, no doubt. Yeah, Kaylee saying holy crap. Yeah, that's what I'm saying too. But I really want to see this. I want to see her do that. I want to see her do that, walking on the bottles while swallowing that damn sword. That's what I want to see.
Oh God, the wobbles. That's something to work up to. Is like, okay, I'm up on the bottles. I walked across all of them, and now I'm gonna put this sword in my throat. Can I tell
No,
you
you
what
got to
my
do that.
favorite
You got to
sword
do that
swallow
while
is?
you're walking the bottles. No, no. So let's talk a little bit because we have to talk about it. I know you're sick and tired of it, and it's been talked to dinosaur dust, but we got to talk a little bit about it because because it's sort of part of the requirement. So let's talk about how you got started in movies. And how you met Jen and Sylvia Soska. I know,
Uh,
I
I
know.
met I met them through a mutual friend of ours, Kevy Mental from Fake Shark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
They were looking for a dance choreographer for American Mary because in their original vision, it was like there was like these like crazy dance numbers and stuff, and then like all feature films, like you're like these are my expectations, and then like you just kind of shrink down to what it actually turns into. Um, and so originally they had me on board for that, and I was like super excited about it, and I read the script. It was a great script, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're still looking for a Beatrice," and I was just like, "Oh, that's cool." They're like, "It's too bad you don't do voices," and I'm like, "I do voices," and they're like, "Oh well, it's too bad you can't act." I'm like, I'm doing stage plays right now. I'm doing in Succubus a Go Go, and I had another Fringe Festival play that I wound up getting fired from later, and yeah, it was. They were like, "Oh well, do you want to read?" And I'm like, "Can I?" And yeah, that was probably one of the best roles I've ever got. Like, I shouldn't say it was the best because I've had a lot of really cool roles, but that's definitely like way to fucking put the right foot forward. You know what I mean?
right, right. Um, did when you were filming that movie, did you ever expect it to take off the way it did?
I didn't really have any expectations because I hadn't done like that movie set was like the biggest deal I'd ever experienced in my life. So I had no real frame of reference of kind of like what it would do. I'm afraid to say I might have sounded like Harry Styles in his press tour going, I'm like, oh my God, it looks like a real movie. Like, and that's just because I'm like, I didn't know what to expect. Right. So I was just like, holy shit, like this looks like something you'd like see in a cinema, which sounds like a really dumb thing to say, but it was completely accurate. And then when people really responded to it and Beatrice very well. So I was like, oh, oh, oh.
Okay.
All right. And
This
that came at a really good time in my life because I had just like quit the band I was touring with in the end of 2010, and I was kind of like, oh god, that was like my whole identity. What am I going to do now? And that's when I started doing stage plays, and that really all the serendipitous timing of that. Fucking lucky.
You mentioned a band. What are you talking about? Was this the burlesque band or was this a rock and roll band?
This was a psychobilly band called Big John Bates and the Voodoo Dolls, and the Voodoo Dolls were like me, usually plus one other performer, and we do like some burlesque, we do some spire stuff, we do just to kind of make it more of like a stage show. But like I toured with them for 7 years. I got to perform in like 12 different countries, which was super cool during that time, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. But at the same time, like there was like personal things and stuff that happened, and yeah, after like we did a 3-month tour in the end of 2010, and like I kept trying to quit the tour. I was like, I'm done, fucking finished. But I stayed till the end, and then at the end I'm like, okay, I'm done now, bye.
I kept on telling Jim Heath that. I said, this is what you need for your band to take it to the next level. You need a couple of hot burlesque dancers for that. But the good Reverend said no, and so the Reverend Horton Heat just still stayed a 3-piece. That's too bad. What are some of the bands that you toured, who you toured with? Did you see any bands out there that inspired you, that made you I mean, how important is music to you?
Music's incredibly important to me.
Is it? Go ahead.
I'd say like, well, we did, the band I mainly toured with would tour with other larger bands as well. So like, I don't know that anyone in North America really knows them, but they're very popular in Germany specifically, and they're called Boss Haas. They're one of their lead singers was like on like the German equivalent of like The Voice as a judge, and like they have their own like brand of beer. Like they're not like a small deal. And we met them because they'd come to Canada to do like a Western tour. Like their whole thing is being cowboys, and like there's no cowboys in Germany. Germany never had cowboys because there was like never any homesteads to sell, right? So like cowboys are quite a novelty there. So like they were doing like country swing versions of like all the pop songs, like Britney Spears' Toxic and It's Hot in Here, and it was really fun. But they were used to selling out stadiums in Germany, and here they are in like little club shows, and like maybe 40 people would show up. And so it was like, huh. And then when we went over there, they invited us to be on their tour, and there's nothing more surreal than seeing like 3,000 Germans all wearing cowboy hats and going, howdy.
Oh man.
We're like, this is a weird alternative dimension. We're in Dresden, right? Yeah, we're in Dresden. This is weird, really, really strange.
Yeah, isn't that that is true. A lot of European bands, that are they can sell out a 3,000 person room and they can do really well and they get a record deal or whatnot. And then they come on over here and the first thing they get from back home is, are you the next Beatles? And it's just like, I can't tell you how many bands I've seen from the UK or France or Germany to come with that expectations, especially the UK. Are they going to be the next Beatles? Hell, they can't even be themselves without having that tossed on their ass. A lot of pressure. Bands are it's a whole different animal. So after you did American Mary, after you got out of the band, you became a stage actress. Now, did you have any formal training at this, or was this something that had you done this when you were younger?
I did a lot of it when I was younger, so it wasn't completely alien to me. And doing burlesque since like 2002, it was like the stage is like my second home. So it wasn't like an intimidation thing. But the group I was performing with, Spectral Theater, which has an excellent documentary coming out about it, BT Dubs, is known for doing their whole thing is theater for people who don't like theater. So a lot of their stuff was just very ambitious and interesting, and it wasn't stuffy. And in Vancouver, like what people define as theater is like pretty narrow, and trying to get arts grants and stuff for that kind of thing is challenging, not impossible, challenging. But these guys did it, and they included me in it, and yeah, that was really generous of them because they didn't know if I could or couldn't. I just auditioned, and I was like, "Here's hoping." And that gave me a lot of confidence going into the American Mary audition because I'm like, well, I could do this. I can do this. And yeah, I guess I've been like a little bit of an actor my whole life, and this is just like now I can just like be official.
Is it a fair assessment to say that you've always had your self-confidence, even when you were very young? Have you always been self-confident, or has that been a struggle, or did it come naturally?
In terms of confidence of my ability to do certain things, yes, always there. Self-confidence in relating to other people, not so much, because I just assume everybody hates me all the time, and it's just easier to
Right.
go off of that. I know you probably laugh, but like anxiety is a horrible fucking bitch.
No, no,
And
not laughing at all. No, not laughing at all. I'm just a little surprised by that.
no,
I mean,
I generally just assume most people hate me until I see otherwise. And that was just like I have a long memory from high school. Let's just put it that way. It's
okay.
really hard to like convince yourself that your bullies were wrong. Um, but I mean, I've always kind of just been who I am and comfortable with that. And the problem is that as I've gotten older, I've gotten more comfortable with that, which tends
Yeah,
to make other people uncomfortable that I'm so comfortable. But that's kind of the beauty of aging is that you don't give a fuck about what other people feel or think about you. You're just happy to be comfortable
yeah.
in your own skin.
You're doing your own thing. Yeah, that's I get that. It just I mean, but you like people though. I mean, do you like most people, or how hard is it for you to trust people? Is it because
Guilty until proven
being a
innocent is
performer?
how I go most times. Like I'm just like again, I'm usually not suspicious, but I'm hesitant with most people until I can find that they're not bags of shit. Because let's face it, there's lots of bags of shit out there, and there's a lot of people who will present themselves as one way, or they'll be nice to you, but they'll be shitty to other people. So I've learned I'm trying to be a bit more careful, but it's hard to kind of walk that line and not like completely cut yourself off from the human race. I'm like, I still want to participate in the human experience, but I've gotten burned a lot of times.
It feels like deja vu because me and Max were talking about the same thing in the earlier interview. Like I'm very much like you. I'm shut off. I don't really communicate with anybody other than through social media. I have trust issues. I have anger issues. I do trust issues. So I totally can relate to you, Tristan. I'm not laughing at all. I'm just it's no, not at all. I understand. I
Game
understand.
recognized game.
Yeah, it's just I don't think a lot of people would think because you're always you always come across as being very very you know uh, um you're very good natured. You're outgoing. You're very fun to talk to. I really enjoy talking to you, and you've always had that. You've always had that. But it's a shame. That it's a shame for both of us to have to feel a little bit defensive and carrying scars and whatnot. It does happen. It does happen for people.
Mm-hmm.
But acting, it gave you a way out, though, right? Did like?
Oh yeah, acting's great. I can totally act like I'm comfortable with people most of the time, and they have no idea I'm dying inside. So it's like, oh, she's a really good actor. Yeah, she's faking being human really well.
Uh, do you have trouble with like because you got over 50 movies underneath your belt, so I mean there's got to be you've got to reconcile something within yourself in order to keep acting. There's got to be something there that's encouraging you to keep going forward. Because and thank you for doing so. Because I know it must be hard, but you're very good at it. You're very,
I'm
you
gonna
know,
chalk it up to ego. It's like, yeah, it's just, oh, but the story's really good, or oh my god, this person's like a really great cinematographer, or oh my god, that character, yes, that character, I want to play that character. So you do find ways to reconcile it.
have you had that? Have you had those moments where you've read a script and you just said, "I this is an awesome character. I just really want to go. I want to play this person. I really want this part." I mean,
Yeah,
and you just want that more than anything else.
yeah, yeah. And weirdly enough, there was a character that, oh god, I wanted to play this character so badly. I was going to play this character, but then I moved and COVID happened, so I couldn't like come and go out of New Zealand and to go to where they were shooting this. And this was like when the September 2021. So I'd spent so much time and money to get here, and then like I was like, I can't. I'm really sorry, I can't do this role. Like I don't know if I leave, if I can get back into the country. I don't want to risk getting COVID and getting stuck in the States with like how much healthcare costs. But this movie, Xanadu Hellfire, like if anybody gets a chance to go see Xanadu Hellfire, please go see it. I do have like a cameo in it because like my pictures are on the wall, but like so I'm still kind of part of it, which is nice. But just please go see this movie. It's like Turbo Kid, it's like Manborg, it's Sword and Saucer. It's you got to go see it. Like please support this film.
Okay. Yeah, Gizmo commented about about that Xanadu Hellfire. I mentioned it too before you got here. That you had yes, I because I love the name. You know,
Yeah, right.
Xanadu
Like I mean, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh fuck, do I even need
yeah,
to read the script? I'm in. But like, it was like,
yeah,
oh,
sign me up.
oh fuck you, COVID.
Um, let's see. Kaylee has mentioned here. Tristan is talented, dynamic, and strong. I'm sorry for everyone with trust issues, depression, and anxiety, and she lives there. I agree. I do too. Hi, Kella. How are you? Hi, Jamie. I'm going to catch up. I know I am not a very good host today. I'm probably missing everybody's questions. See. See. Kaylee says, "Oh no, I've got big time anxiety, but assuming people hate you isn't healthy for you." I think it's just a defense mechanism, really, more than anything else. That's all. It's
I think of it in terms of just assume until they show that they are, and then when they don't, like,
yeah,
oh shit, that's cool. Like, yay, you don't hate me, yay.
no. God, I just have a hard time imagining anybody hating you. I
Oh, they
do. I
exist.
mean,
Trust me. Oh,
I
boy,
know
do they
people hate
exist.
on each other. I do know people hate on each other. I'm not that blind, but I'm just saying through your personality that I've seen and through your writing and through this, I think I think you're wonderful. I mean, you're being, very forthright. You're being open and honest. I mean, I don't know how anybody could hate that. You're not pretentious. You're not putting on an air. I
I
think
can be pretentious. Sometimes I am a snobby art bitch. Sometimes I can be a snobby art bitch, and I'm trying to like learn to dial it back a little bit. Again, not yucking somebody else's yum, because like you never want to slam something and have someone go, "Oh, actually, I love that," and you're like, "Ooh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ruin the thing that you like."
Um, art, Mitch. Though, we are just talking about that. Like with art is, art is just totally 100%, probably more than any other form. But it's all about perspective. I mean, art is truly, it's the only thing you could apply to it is perspective. I mean, there's no rules in liking art. It's just your perspective. It's like you like it or you don't, and there's
Yeah.
no right or wrong. And I don't necessarily, someone sits there and says, hey, they don't like it, they don't like it. That's, it's just perspective. There's no rules. When you see art critics, it's like, what the hell is an art critic? What do they do? What,
What are
what,
you
is- what,
basing this
what
critique off of?
yeah, what are they criticizing? I mean, it's art. It's bulletproof. A
Yeah.
movie critic, yes, they can criticize a movie and they can critique it and they can point out what they don't like or whatever. But art, art is like sort of bulletproof. You can't. Well, I don't like that. I don't like Andy Warhol. I don't like what he did with the Campbell soup can. Okay, but how does that make you some sort of voice or critic? You just voicing opinion. It's like, what, you didn't like that he used the wrong color red? Did he put the wrong number? It's uh
Maybe they had
um
to eat a lot of Campbell's soup as a kid. Who knows?
yeah, Vietnam flashback. Okay, I didn't miss any questions. I don't think. I hope so. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them. I will get to you. I promise. I will get to you. Uh, Jamie says she loves your makeup. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, you look lovely today. My friend Al Licard, the Bat, is in the house. That's my co-host on the Midnight Society, the Bat and the
Cool.
Cat. Yeah, he's very cool guy. Very cool guy. Um, uh, uh, so let's go back to some of your acting, because I mean that really is cool. You do fight for parts. There are parts out there that you do put yourself past your comfort zone. You do challenge yourself by going after them, by reading for it, and that's got to make you feel good, huh?
Yeah. I read for a part recently, and I got it, which was really super cool. It's like my first animated thing that I'm doing, and I was really happy that when I did the thing, that the casting director was really kind, and she was like, yeah, no, like the director really liked what you did, and there was like 30 other people auditioned, and I always get I don't know, I hate the audition process because I hate to feel like I'm being judged, but essentially like you have to kind of like go and do the thing, right? Like it makes sense, you have to go and audition, but it's one of those things that will like release all the anxiety hormones in my brain and just be, you'll think of all the worst things, and my brain will like be like, hey, you know how you can like remember things like with a photographic memory? Not today, bitch. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, like what was that line again? I swear to God, I'll know it on the day. But yeah, it's hard. So getting that was like a huge affirmation for me to be like, oh yeah, you can still do this. You're not done yet. Your brain still functions. Woo. And yeah, and it meant a lot because I'm doing the voice of the person who is the director's deceased wife. So it was incredibly important, and I knew her when she was alive, so it was very important to me to like get it right for her. So yeah.
We got one question here. Our friend Jamie wants to know, how old were you when you first started acting? What was the first? How old were you on your very first acting? The very first piece of acting that you did?
I'm gonna say I was in grade 1 and it was a school play.
And you played the part of Carrot.
I
That's
can't, I can't remember. I can't remember what. I played like a doll in like the Christmas pageant because we were all toys.
okay.
Um, so I was a doll. I really liked the stage makeup. I probably looked like a child prostitute with that much blush on my face. It was the 80s. And yeah, but like being on stage and the applause and like the dopamine release in the brain when I got my lines right. Yeah, it's clearly an addictive feeling.
Definitely. I played a turnip when I was in first grade. Is that
How did you play a turnip?
because it was about farms. We all had to be pieces of vegetables, and then the farmer would come around and this is guess what this is, and then point at you, and I'm a turnip. And I had like a red and white costume on and stuff. It was silly.
Did everybody else have like crazy veggie costumes and stuff, or was it like, or was yours the best, or?
No, we made our costumes. They helped us make our costumes, and then we put them around us, and then we stood there, and then they would make cute little songs, and like, I'm a farmer, and this is what I grow, and then they would point toward the corn and says, I'm corn, I grow really tall. Then they point to the lettuce, I'm green and I'm leafy. It's just really small things, and then they pointed to me and I says, I'm a turnip. It was it was it was
Gonna be
silly.
me for the rest of the day.
That's the end,
I'm a
and that
turnip.
and that was the end of my acting career. Um, So now with I was going to ask you this too. Now this is interesting since since we are discussing anxiety and whatnot, and so how did you handle when you didn't get a part? When you went out for an audition and you didn't get it. Now, how hard of that was that for you?
For me, when I was living in Vancouver and I'd go out to auditions and I didn't get them, it was more the fact that I had to book time off of work and
Mm.
go to the audition and then like have the anxiety, do the thing, come back and then be like, oh, I missed a day of work and I didn't get the part. Well, fuck me then, I guess. That was just kind of like, but I think it's, you have to be prepared that you're not going to get everything, and that's fine. And nobody should get everything that they apply for all the time because
Yes.
how do you know when you're doing something good and how do you know when you need to improve something? And sometimes in the audition process, you can have done the part really, 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 really awesome, but what you got isn't exactly what they're looking for. And it's like, I've had to really just kind of be like, you know what? It's just, it happens. It's part of the job. It's like, you've accepted a job where sometimes rejection is part of the process and it sucks, but it still is better than a lot of the other jobs I could be doing where I would just hate like everything instead of just like one or two parts.
Now you must be one of the artists that really is really grateful. There's one thing the pandemic did that I've heard the overwhelmingly amount of actors are actually said that this is a good thing to come out of the pandemic, and that is the self tape. Um, how do you like doing self tape versus in person auditions?
I I hated it at first. At first, self-taping was hard. And then I figured out kind of how to warm up first before I did the self-tape audition thing. And it was like, oh, okay, I found the jam and I can do it now. And because partly also because like Burns isn't home, so it's like I can be as loud or ridiculous or whatever. Because it's like it's always so much harder when it's like your spouse is in like the next room and it's just like they're listening to your ridiculousness or you doing something over and over again because you're trying to remember the exact right lines that you want to say and doing it in different tones and it's almost as bad as being in front of a casting director, but he's not here, so I don't have that pressure. So
Uh,
now.
I got a question here. This popped up. Um, I've been away. Did you ask about the bathtub scene in Innsmouth? Did I see Innsmouth on here? What's Innsmouth? Uh,
Innsmouth is was directed by Izzy Lee, and it is a female-driven Lovecraftian tale. I played
nice,
Alice Marsh. So they
nice.
want to talk about the eyeball, do they?
Yeah, I guess they want to talk about the eyeball. It
What
says
would you like to know about the eyeball, kids?
that I have to see that. I
Yeah,
have to
you
see
do.
that. Yeah. Now, was that a?
And
Is that
guys,
a?
he
Is
hasn't
that?
seen Innsmouth yet. Should you tell him? Are you going to tell him?
No, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I haven't seen it. So is this like a? Is this like a Nightmare on Elm Street? Is this like a hand in the water or something?
Oh, it's so much better than a hand in the water, let me tell you.
Okay, good, good. It's just oh, okay. So tell us about the bathtub scene because I haven't seen it. But go ahead. So what was the bathtub? What did you were you doing something to somebody or somebody doing it to you? Were you like a monster
I was
or?
I was about I was well, I do something to somebody in the bathtub. Diana Porter, gets the rough end of my monster attack.
Oof.
But there's like a super specific thing about that scene, and I mean, if I delve too much into it, I'm going to spoil the surprise for you. But if you want the surprise spoiled, I'm
No,
happy to
no,
do so.
I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it. But obviously they know it. I'll look for the movie. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go after we're done. I'm gonna go find it and buy it and watch it, and then I'm gonna come talk to you. I'll have more questions. What has been one scene that you've done, Tristan, that has disturbed you? You ever done a scene yet that you just go like, "What the hell am I doing here?" Like House of Manson. Let's talk about House of Manson a little bit because This is how I met Brendan Slagle. Brendan is a great guy. Brendan's a prince. I love Brendan. So let's talk a little bit about House of Manson because you were in that film. How did you feel about playing in that movie off a real live event? You know, the murders. Um, was it uncomfortable? Was it uncomfortable playing a true person, like a real person, versus a fictional character that's created for the story, created for the film? What's more difficult for you as an actress to handle, playing a real person or a fictional character?
Oh, definitely playing a real person because that person existed. And that person also died in horrible, horrible circumstances. And that person still has family members that are alive today.
Yeah,
So when I went into doing this, like I had, I mean, she passed away before I was even born. Um, but so I never got to meet her. I didn't know her, and I didn't have a connection to her beyond playing her in this film. So it's really hard to be like, I want to make sure that how I do this is accurate and true, but like it's not like it's like so far before social media, so it's not like I could study them. Like if I was playing like someone who's an influencer today and they have like all their videos and photos and stuff, you'd probably be able to like piece who they are together a little bit more. But because Abigail Folger died so long ago in such shitty circumstances, um, I just wanted to be really sure that I was as respectful as possible and that I could translate the horror of what happened to her. And I doubt that any of her family members would watch it because it's like, who wants to see like their great aunt like get massacred on film, respectfully or not. But I would hope that if word got back to them, that they would be like okay with how I portrayed their family member in as respectfully as possible versus like, there's I just, I would feel so horrible if it was my family and somebody made a movie about my family member dying and like, this person was just like super flippant about it or whatever, or it was just a paycheck. It was like, no, I want this to actually like, I don't know, mean something
yeah.
and to show that this was like a human being and that other human beings were so easily swayed and influenced into murdering that person. So it's like, yeah, important.
Me and Brendan, when we talked about this, we were talking about this because it just seemed like, Charles Manson's story is the most covered American crime in history. There's been more movies, more books written on it than any other crime in history. And we were talking about this, when we were talking about this, revisiting this when Tarantino came out with his movie, and the 50th anniversary, and he had everything that he was doing for the story was all wrong. He was doing it for sensationalism, and it
Mm,
was, I always felt like, like enough's enough. I mean, haven't we covered the story? Haven't we told the story? What more can anybody bring to the party, to the story? And Brendan was sitting there going like, I have a vision. I have a vision, and this is what I did with it. And again, he explained it pretty much how you did, about being very respectful, and you didn't want to. It wasn't exploitation at all.
no.
And Tarantino was everything against that. I mean, everything Tarantino was exploitive, and he wanted to
Tarantino
open.
does exploitation films. He does grindhouse films. I can't see him trying to handle something like this with respect because that's just not
Beyond
the
that.
genre he works in.
No, I mean, he wanted his movie to open up on the day of the murders, of the anniversary of the murders. It's just like, dudes, I mean, do you not have a single ounce of decency in your body? I mean, do you just one? I mean, do you have any respect at all? And it's just like, I do think that filmmakers, when they do handle real life stories like that, or any real life stories like that, I do think they do owe it to the person they're talking about, to be respectful. I mean, you can tell the story without being exploitative. Uh,
Yeah.
so has that been your most difficult part to play?
Um, it's probably in the top five trickiest roles on how do I handle this the best. and how do I make this believable? Because it's like, you know how when you watch some people and you're watching, like, I find this true to be Johnny Depp now for like the last like 10 years, is it's like if you see Johnny Depp in a movie, you're not watching, and Robert Downey Jr. is the same. It's like you're not watching them actually immerse themselves and become this character. You're watching Robert Downey Jr. as such and such, or you're watching Johnny Depp as such and such, but it's not really like, and you know, both of them were great for so long, and then it's just like they kind of got lazy. And I don't want anyone to watch this going, oh, it's Tristan Risk cosplaying Abigail Folger, because that is so not what I would want. I like, you know, you're supposed to like shapeshift and blend into this role. Like I wouldn't wear this makeup to play that character, because what the hell?
Right, right. See what I mean? You have a lot of, you do have a lot of empathy and passion still for people. I mean, you know, for you to come up with you to come up with that sort of feeling and desire to play that person with that much respect and have that feeling. I mean, that says a lot to your character as well. Because a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people will just take it and make a paycheck out of it. You know, here I am. I'm just resting on my laurels. I'm Brad Pitt. I'm Leonardo. Let me just go ahead and just let me be that,
I
and
don't
not
have to
be.
try anymore, you know?
It's just I just yeah. What are your other four roles that you've done that you've been that you really enjoyed, and your four of the best roles that you've done?
Four of the best roles.
Sure.
I'm gonna say Beatrice, because like that was just a cool role. Um, Madame Pong from Aliens ate my homework and Aliens stole my body. Uh, Ayla, um, and from Ayla. And I'm gonna say probably Val from Frankenstein Created Bikers, because I got to be super, super snarky and snarly and just be a bitch. And it was really fun.
I love that. I just looked. Innsmouth is a short film, so you're
Yes.
gonna have to send me a link to that, or unless it's on YouTube.
Oh,
Let's
it's
see.
not on YouTube. It
Okay,
can't be on YouTube.
it can't be on
It
YouTube.
is not what the kids called COPA compliant.
Okay, I'll have to find it. If you have a link to the short, I will definitely take a look at it and be shocked and amazed. Our friend Lazy Cheetah is here. Now that is the most ironic name on YouTube, since cheetahs are never lazy. But he says Lazy Cheetah says movies are a form of sorcery. I believe some people who are more susceptible to visual presentation. Yeah, I think so too. I think there are people that are more, you know, they get taken in by the medium. Sure. I
That's
mean,
a
we
fair
see that all.
assessment.
Yeah, we see that in our society. Definitely. Um, let's see. And act out due to what they're seeing. Yeah, we already know that here in America. That's why we have a lot of gun violence. A lot of people act that out. Let's see. Monkey saying here. What film was being respectful? House of Manson, being respectful. I got that movie. I have to watch it. I initially did not, but I got a copy of it. I am watching it. I want to see what Brendan has done. I totally trust him, and I want to see. I want to see what he did with it. Let's see. Uh,
Ryan
Blink.
Kaiser plays Charles Manson, and he is
Yeah,
really good as Charles Manson.
I heard that.
He pulled it off in a way that, you know, he was ever he's how I imagine Manson would be. He would be charming. He would be hypnotic. He's not just like this weird psycho shouty guy. He's like he people made him into a cult leader for a reason. And but man,
People.
people just want something to follow, don't they? Whether it's like a influencer, an actor, or you know, a potential psychotic or a
Yeah.
church leader. It's just like people just want something to believe in real bad these days.
Yeah. Yeah, they're looking, instead of looking within themselves, it's like, why are you going to follow man, man is blind. The blind follow the blind and both fall into the ditch,
Yeah.
and that's what really happens in our society, stand up on your own. Let's see, some other comments are coming in. All right. I'm loving this. Blink in post production with me. stopping the image and drawing the. I don't. That sounds like a movie talk there, Gizmo. I'm sure she would understand that, but I don't. Uh, can you make it more simpler for me to understand? I love your comment, but I got to be able to understand it.
And keep in mind, I'm in here too, so it's best if you use small words.
Um, speaking of fun, let's talk a little bit about your dragons because that was really fun. Now, how did you get into puppeteering?
Oh shit, I love puppets. Like Jim Henson
Mm-hmm.
continues to be like Jim Henson was not a perfect human. I'll just say that. Like he fucked around on his wife. He
Oh,
had, he was a flawed person. But as someone who was able to bring a lot of creatives together to help unify his vision, I think he was amazing. Like he tapped Brian Froud for production design for both Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. He frequently collaborated with Frank Oz and encouraged him as a director too. Frank Oz directed the one of the Muppet movies. He directed Labyrinth. Like
yes.
I think Jim Henson did a lot for my interest in puppets. And I guess in 2018, I was starting to look at some puppets, thinking like YouTube tutorials. And I tried to do the blinking puppet mechanism, and I wasn't really sure how it worked. However, I come from a long line of engineers. The Risks, my grandfather's father and his brothers and everything, a lot of engineers in this family. So I was like, you know what? I can figure this out. So it was with like smoking not a small amount of green and, maybe a bottle of Merlot here and there and a lot of YouTube tutorials and a lot of farting around to try to figure out how things worked. I finally figured it out. I have made mistakes with my dragon puppet that I will not make with this next puppet I'm working on, but that's what the learning curve is learning that fake fur adds about a bazillion pounds to something. So I'm going to have like this arm is going to be like super strong from puppeting the dragon, and this one's going to be like the weak little like flappy limb.
Okay. Yeah, how heavy are your puppets?
Mortimer's quite light because he's mostly like a light plastic with like a little bit of fluff on him. Matilda the Marshwazzle, also small, mostly a spring for a body, and like a little bit of fake fur. The big dragon head got heavy really fast as soon as I like added like the fur and the ears and everything and like the stuff to make the shape of the head. So like like the head's probably about like 7 pounds, which doesn't sound huge until you're like holding it up your
Right,
head.
right.
And it's just like, oh man, if anyone tries to mug me, I'm gonna be able to just rip their dick right off with this arm.
Right. Yeah, holy crow. That's a whole different type of body horror, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's see. Now people. Let's see. Now people are talking about the. Monkey says that if she's a gamer, they hit Easter eggs in Grand Theft Auto 5, showing the house and the victims. See, that's absolutely wrong. That is absolutely wrong. That's
Ew.
that's disgusting. You know what? It's just
Can you imagine being the game designer and having to sit there and program that shit? That would do my head in.
yeah. I mean, you're actually gonna. I mean, you actually sit around in there and like, what can we do to make our game more shocking? Oh, we'll just put the House of Manson in there with the victims. That's just, that's why I don't play games.
I mean,
Uh,
I play games, but they're well, I mean, I was gonna say Farmville, but I guess I just do Farmville in real life now.
yeah, yeah,
But like
yeah,
super like
yeah.
chill little app games, like crossword games.
But you know what? It doesn't really surprise me that you have a farm because you love animals. I mean,
I do.
you show several pictures of yourself with snakes. You have a lot of pictures with snakes, and you love reptiles, right?
I sure do.
Is that your favorite? Is that your favorite? Is reptiles or is it still cats?
I It's hard to say because you know what, reptiles were part of my life for 8 years, and having snakes, bearded dragons, monitor lizard, um, different frogs. It's weird to not have snakes or most lizards in New Zealand. There's some native ones here. There's like little native geckos here, which is super cool, but like you can't keep those as pets. But yeah,
There's no snake.
I love all the critters. I like animals. I'm not alone in this when I say this. I like animals better than people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but being on the farm, you know, I have what I have called outside pets. Like we've got a mated pair of harrier hawks on our property. There's wood pigeons have just moved in. Like the bird life is incredible here. Like I'm just looking out the window and I'm watching them like destroy the seed bell I hung up. And on top of that, you know, I live in a rural area. So there's sheep, there's cows, there's llamas, there's horses, there's ponies, less people. But I really do miss having snakes around. Like that's just, it was like a weird thing that it's like, it's like Little Mermaid. It's like, yes, I'll make you a human, but you have to give up your voice. It's like, yes, you can live in Aotearoa, but you have to give up reptiles. And it's like, oh no, not my reptiles.
Have you ever been bitten by bitten or scratched by any of your animals, by any of your snakes or
Yeah,
lizards? Did you ever get bit?
yeah, absolutely. Anything with a
You,
mouth can bite. And every time that the snakes bit me, it's like 3 or 4 times, totally my fault. Was not them, was me, was what I was doing. I wasn't paying attention, or I wasn't paying attention to their body language at the time, so it wasn't them. Totally my fault as a handler. But, you know, I trained as a vet assistant, and during my practicum, I have been bitten, scratched, pissed, shit, bled on multiple times. So I don't know that I would put up with that from a human, which is why I'm not a nurse. But as far as animals go, I'm like,
yeah, I
what
can
is
see
point
that.
is? You're helping an animal that's experiencing discomfort. You're going to get a bite. You're going to get a scratch. They're scared, dudes. I don't hold it against them.
Right, right. I get that. Now, is your ranch? Is it your farm? Is it a working farm? I mean, are you able to support yourselves on that ranch? Are you taking your produce and sheep wool to market? Is that something you do, or?
Well, we have a truffle orchard, so we grow truffles on this property.
Oh,
And in
wow.
addition to that, we have a hazelnut orchard, and we grow all of our own food. And we have we're getting our second beehive soon, so honey as well. So we do have some things. We're mostly we're part of like a I don't want to say truffle union, a truffle board here, because there's a couple of other truffle growers. But last year was the first year where we had like lots, and you can go years after you infect the roots of the trees and maybe not see anything. So the fact that we had as many coming in when we do this year was shit because it was so wet. But you know, our like the biggest truffle I pulled last year was about that big, which like pretty cool.
Truffles are expensive.
Yes, they are.
Wow. Very, very
Yeah,
nicely done. Very nicely
we only
done.
do fancy people food here.
Wow. Yeah, I know. I've seen, I've seen some documentaries where they've gone shopping for truffles, and it's like caviar. It's like hundreds of dollars for a truffle. Uh,
Yeah, if you get some nice truffles, like that's the thing with the luxury market is like, yeah, there's a recession, there's a global pandemic. Rich people don't care. Rich people want their rich people stuff.
yeah, isn't that always the case? They want it despite no matter no matter what, they want what they want.
Yeah.
Let's see. So let's talk about now. With this, now this is not going to be your first directing effort. You mentioned Cat Lover, and what's the other film you want to prep? You
The
want
other
to direct?
film I'm actually in pre-production for right now. It's going to be animated, and it's called The Deeps, and it's about a sailor on the Sunshine Coast in the Salish Sea in off the coast of British Columbia, who runs into a bunch of mermaids and gets obsessed.
Oh, now, have you ever done any voiceover work before this? I know you mentioned the one where with your friend. Was now is that movie? Is that the same movie you're talking about now? Or was that a different movie?
No, this is different. So I'm not doing voice work for my own film. There's only like one narrator, and then I'm trying to reel in this vocalist who I used to dance with, who's named Nikki Nindor. So I'm really hoping I can like lock her in to do some ethereal vocals for the mermaid. But I've got this brilliant composer who's helping me with both Cat Lover and The Deeps, who we actually went to high school together, and I'm really happy to recruit him because he's a genius and nobody else has found out about him yet. So I'm just like, haha, all mine for my movies.
Right.
And I'm working with Ron McKenzie, who I met when he was writing for Rue Morgue on The Deeps. And then Cat Lover is going to be shot in Vancouver, probably like either June or September. I'm trying to figure out my scheduling a little bit there. And I've got the cat I'll be using is from Masters Effects. So, I mean, I do have some like, cool names on paper to be part of this. But yeah, I've written both of these scripts. They're both adapted from short stories that I wrote years ago. And I'm just excited to like be able to bring some of my crazy, dumb, weird ideas to life. And yeah.
Do you ever bounce ideas off of peers?
No.
Like no.
I'm pretty bad for that because I'm like, I'm not really interested in other people's opinion of my work. I'm just gonna do me.
Okay. Yeah, I can understand that. Has anybody ever done that to you? Has anybody bounced ideas off of you?
Oh, lots of times, but I'm just like I oftentimes find that when I talk about projects that I'm doing that I'm excited about, that I've like, come up with the concept and I've written myself, people are always like, oh, you know what you should do? You should do this. And I'm like, if I wanted your fucking opinion, I would have fucking asked for it. I did not. So I'm pretty like prickly about when people like offer unsolicited advice about stuff. And I know that has like put some of my family members off because they're like, oh, you should. I'm like, mm-mm.
So what she's saying, in no uncertain terms, no fucking cheetahs and cat lovers.
No, trust me, it needs to be a big cat. Cheetahs are big, but they're not big enough.
Yeah, right. And since I unsolicited, gave it to you unsolicited, it's like no fucking cheetahs. So I get. Oh my gosh, you're such a delight. This is fun.
Oh yeah.
Are you still in touch? Are you still in touch with Sylvia and Jen? Are you close to them? Are you still close to them?
Mm-mm.
No.
I haven't spoken to them since 2019.
Yeah, I'm not really
Yeah.
surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not
Yeah.
surprised. I'll leave that. I'm gonna leave that right there.
Probably best.
Yeah, because you and I are thinking alike. I already know.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. Let's see. Questions. Do you ever fear being are you ever fear of being typecast? Uh, yeah, is that something that people come up to? Do they ever come up to you and want you just to play the same role? Like because they want you to play the same, the badass or the alternative girl. Is that a concern of yours being typecast, or I mean, do you see yourself playing dramatic roles, playing comedies, playing romantic leads? Is that something you want to do, or you just want to be out there on the fringe?
Well, I'll say this. I've never been much for the mainstream because that's how people drown. I'm much happier being in the underground than I am being like, you know, white bread for everybody. And that's fine because there's like some people who are they're just like super commercial and like that's their thing. I'm not really worried about being typecast because if I look at all of my roles, everything I've done is so different from everything else.
Yes.
I think if I'm in danger of being typecast as anything, it's somebody who's going to do the thing that nobody else wants to do or is too scared to do. And I'm fine with that. That's fine because it's not like the same character over and over again. But yeah, it hasn't really been something I feel like I've had to worry about. I think if I get to that bridge, I'll jump off of it. The only thing that I would be concerned about is if people saw my past work and they're like, oh yeah, like we want this like sexy like 20 something blah blah blah, and I'm like, I'm 42 in a month and I don't look now like what I did then. Like I'm still in, I'm still fit and everything, but it's just like I just don't want people to think that I'm in my 20s because I'm quite comfortably in my 40s. And there's a lot of people who are in their 20s who are well suited to those roles. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, yeah, so it's like she's 22 and she's just in college. And I'm like, what part of this, with the grayness of this and the longness of the teeth, do you think that anyone would believe that I'm fucking 22?
Uh,
I mean,
I,
yes, thank
I,
you for the
I,
compliment, but like, let's be real here.
I would say 25, but that's just me. You know,
I have a really good concealer and foundation, so thank you.
see, Gizmo saying here, I hear Norwegian and New Zealand are really close when it comes to culture and the way the people are, but he's never been there. Um, yeah, let's see, lazy cheetahs coming to my defense and saying cheetahs are cuddly as hell, and they are. But we can't solicit the cheetahs anymore, lazy cheetah. Unfortunately, let's see. Uh, oh my gosh, I'm gonna tell her this comment, but I'm not claiming any responsibility for it. Okay, this
Uh-oh.
is okay. I hope that Marvel people pick her up. She'd be great. Would you take it? Would you do it? Would you do a Marvel film?
Yeah, I cash that Marvel check. Like, I'm not too proud to like go work for the big M. Heck yeah. Like, I mean, do I love Marvel movies? No. Would I be in one? Heck yeah, that's like a license to print money.
Now, which character would you like to play?
I'd really want to play Shadowcat from the X-Men, but like, um, that role has been played a lot and by people younger than me, so I can't really do Kitty Pryde, but I would be down to be Rachel Summers, Phoenix 2. Shit, what have they, what, I think more importantly, what have they not done? Maybe Moondragon, if Moondragon hasn't shown up yet in any Marvel movies.
Or would you
Actually,
shave your head?
okay, if anybody's like in the forums, what Marvel character would you want to see me play that hasn't like already been done by Marvel yet?
Would you shave your head for that though to play Moondragon?
Oh, heck yeah, it's hair. It fucking grows back.
Moondragon's a
There's
cool
so many
character.
times during the pandemic when I was cutting my own hair where I'm like, well, if I fuck up, I can just shave my head. That's fine. Like, I don't care.
That is cool as hell. So Moondragon. So she would play. She would play. She'd be happy to play a Marvel movie. That's awesome. Let's see. Underground talents have. Oh, I should mention this to you. Lazy Cheetah is a very fine artist. He has a YouTube channel and he's an excellent artist. Just to let you guys know about that. Underground artists have more talent. Have more talent most of the time. They get this. They get to see the failures and gains of others, so that gives them a perspective of something new or outside the box. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I do. I think their perspective is probably a little bit sharper than the mainstream. I think anybody that actually does an art is always gonna be ahead of somebody who doesn't because they're into art and the other person's on the outside looking in, whereas the artist is inside. So it's still perspective, but it's a little bit sharper perspective. Let's see.
It's weird
What
to
is the
talk to
name?
people back home and they're like, I don't know how you do what you do. Like, I'm like, I look at you going to a job that you hate every day, and like you've got crazy kids running around your house, screaming and yelling and putting sticky little fingerprints on everything, and I don't know how you do that every day. So like,
Was that ever a thought for you for motherhood? Was that something that you ever
oh,
thought of? Or you
absolutely not. No, I like animals and I like plants and I like having a house full of dangerous and expensive things. And I'm the cool, fun auntie. I
yeah,
am nobody's mama except for Rambo.
that for Rambo.
Yeah,
Who's Rambo?
Rambo is my pet ram.
Okay, a pet rail?
Ram.
Ram.
He's a
Okay.
Wilshire
All
ram.
right. All right. See, Gizmo saying here, he comes back. What is the name of crazy? what in the, oh, I don't, let's see. Where do you find this woman that is all? Oh yeah. Oh yes, that's true. He says, "What's in the name of the crazy rat boys?" Where do you I find this woman that? Where do I find all these women that are older than me but look 15 years younger? Yeah, because I do bring on some very beautiful girls on the show. That's for sure.
I'll tell
Lady.
you that I use a sunscreen every day and have been using a sunscreen every day. It's like SPF 15, super easy. Like
Yeah,
that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, New Zealand's a wide open. It's wide open spaces. There's not a lot of trees in the farm area. It's wide open country, isn't it? The sun beats down on you.
Depends on where you go. There's a lot of agriculture, but actually, I wonder if I can. No, probably shouldn't turn my camera around, but I don't know if you could see out the window because the valley is a lot of crops. It's a lot of trees, orchards, hops, apples, stone fruit down here, pears, and there's quite a few trees. But what we're doing on our property is I've been studying a lot of Aotearoa's indigenous plants and kind of learning more about that and kind of learning more what was prevalent here before the Pakeha, which is us whiteys, showed up. And so I'm interested in right now taking a lot of cuttings from existing trees and seeds and growing the native trees here. Like I've got about 45 putakawa trees that are growing right now. That some will be ready to go into the ground next year and some not so much. And this type is specific to the South Island. And the putakawas have beautiful blossoms that give nectar, which attracts the tui birds. So I'm kind of like trying to be responsible. Like I'm not going to live long enough to see these trees grow into their full thing, but I can at least get it started so that like after I'm done and dusted, like, there's like trees for whoever shows up to this land next. So I'm just trying to take care of this area, like where we are, and like leave it better than I found it, right?
Do you fear death?
No.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's like sleep with like more commitment.
Yeah, yeah. It's sleep without the melatonin.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, yeah. Last round of questions for our guest, Miss Tristan Risk. If you have some questions, go ahead and drop them. I just want to say very much, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I can't tell you, you're a Grail guest. When I started doing this show, when I started doing this, I had your name on the list of the people I wanted to talk to, and you were like top 10 on my list I've talked to. So yeah, I'm really grateful that I got an opportunity to talk to you. It's been a real honor and a real pleasure to do so.
Well, thank
And
you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
I do hope that when you go to Canada and you start shooting, your projects, I do hope that you'll come by and talk to us again and
Oh,
catch up on
absolutely.
what you're doing.
If you give me a platform, I will definitely like spew my truth.
Oh, not the platform will always be open for you, Tristan. It'll always be open. I've had a great time between you and Max. This has just been one of the best nights for me. This has been amazing. I want to thank my chat too. My chat's been outstanding today. You guys, I love you guys all. It's just been amazing. And thanks for coming out. I've seen more and more of some of you. I'm starting to see on the regular. I really do appreciate that. That really makes me feel good. Makes me, validates of what I'm doing. And sometimes we do need a little validation, don't we?
I mean, I would be lying if I said I was doing all this with not expecting some level of validation in return. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I think it's important. It's like I know a lot of people have a hard time, they do have a hard time accepting compliments or accepting praise or whatnot. I know that. I'm a little bit like that too. But it's good to get, and you need to need to appreciate it. Again, of course, it also comes from the person who says it. If the person who says it's a shallow person, then I can understand I can understand you, me, anybody else not being like, okay, that's nice, thank you. But when someone comes from the heart and they say, I really think you do great work. I really think you're a good person. I think you're extremely talented. It's it's important to hold on to that, because you know what? There could be a rainy day where you're gonna need that. So
Oh yeah, I have like a little bank in my brain that's like all of those kinds of things. So when I'm like, low dopamine and having like a bit of a day, and I'm like, oh, I'm a crap artist. Why am I doing this? I'm gonna burn this. Why am I painting these pictures? This canvas is bullshit. Then I just go to that little like happy thought bank and I make a withdrawal. And I'm like, remember, you're not a piece of shit. You can do this. You don't suck at your art.
no, no, no. Yeah, it's important to have that in reserve for definitely. Um, so I will tell you what, everybody else coming in. Hey Neon, how are you? How are you? Uh, oh, Neon just said he just rewatched American Mary a couple of weeks ago. Such an underrated movie. I agree. Let's see. Kal-El Daly, you got a question too. What actresses inspire you over and over? Has there ever been do you have actresses that inspire your work, or?
Absolutely. Sigourney Weaver, huge. Like, I love her as an action movie heroine. I love her in comedies. I love her in dramatic roles. Just, mwah. I love Angelica Houston. Super classy leggy. Maggie Smith. Holy crap. What a powerhouse, right? Like, I want to like age into Maggie Smith roles. Like, that would be so dope.
Or Judi Dench, Dame Judi
Or
Dench.
Judi Dench, yeah. Like, Kate Blanchett, Tilda Swinton. Tilda Swinton especially, because it's just like, yeah, she is gold. She can literally she's the David Bowie of acting as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's like there's nothing this woman cannot do.
I you know who I'm really sort of enamored with right now?
Who?
Gwendolyn Christie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, did you see her in The Sandman?
Yes, playing
Oh,
Lucifer.
yeah.
Yes, they did such a great job with her in Game of Thrones. I mean, talk about an actress getting her hands dirty and sacrificing everything for her art. I mean, she let herself get you see her in Game of Thrones, you go like, yeah, okay, that looks like a dude. And but then when you see her, off screen and all prettied up, she's beautiful. She's drop dead
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You have an actress in New Zealand that's I'm not sure if you've heard of her or not. She's also quite good. Her name is Michelle Whitstone.
What is
Um,
she in?
she is a actress and writer. I know I'm saying her name wrong. I'll pass it on to you on Instagram. But
Please do.
yeah, she's amazing.
I need to gather actors and actresses in New Zealand because it's like I got my talent pool over in North America, but I'm like,
Oh,
I need to grow my garden here too.
oh my gosh, New Zealand's got some great actors. Oh my,
It really
I've
does.
watched. Yes, they've done some great films there. One film, people probably hear me sick and tired of this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. So there's an IFC midnight film that was released in New Zealand called The Dead Room, which was excellent. They did Housebound. That's also
Oh
a
yes, that was an
movie.
excellent film too. Holy shit, that was good.
Yeah, it was real good. They had a series. That's where I saw Michelle on, called The Almighty Johnsons. That came out a few years back. That was really fun too. Um,
Wellington's Paranormal is fucking excellent. Can't get enough of that show.
I always look for when I go looking for movies and stuff like that. I'm always looking for international stuff. So I'm always looking up for things from New Zealand because it's like one of the least. It's the hardest. It's like one of the hardest areas to get movies from. So when I see it, I always grab it. So I do know a few of the actors and actresses in New Zealand. And I'll pass on that name to you, Michelle. I know I'm mispronouncing your name, but she's amazing. And she's
Michelle, if you see this, find me and come hit me up. I want to find more actors.
yeah, she's drop dead gorgeous. All right, boys and girls, I'm gonna go ahead and let our guests go. I'm gonna let you guys go as well. Remember next Sunday, this upcoming Sunday. Oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna blow all my credibility here, but I'm okay with it. So next Sunday, we are looking at John Wick Part 2, Chapter 2. We're looking at John Wick Chapter 2. I'll be joined by our good friend Betty J. Gathers will be here with us on the Midnight Society, and then next Tuesday we have Rose Bianco will be here, and she's my first cast member from Cobra Kai, and she'll be here next Tuesday to talk to us. And then Wednesday, we have a doubleheader, another doubleheader. We have British actress Ellie O'Hara will be here with us during the day. And then at night, Sarah Nicklin will be here with us. And then next Thursday, we have Rebecca Silk will be here with us. Thanks so much for coming. You guys have been awesome. Tristan, thank you again so much. Stay right where you're at. Everybody else, I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Getting better at that ending.
Oh, you wrapped it up very nice.